It's been an extraordinary day, extraordinary scenes that we saw in your story about what was happening outside Parliament. What's happening right now?
Yes, Peter, good evening. Extraordinary, I think, is the right word to use. I mean, unprecedented, probably another word that you could use to describe the scenes that unfolded in Parliament today. Right now, at the moment, what we have is that excuse me, the students had said earlier on, once the parliamentary police had managed to get them outside of the precinct, they basically said that they weren't going anywhere up until they had a firm commitment from Minister Nzimande that there was going to be no increases in student fees for next year. So they decided that they were going to stay outside Parliament, stay out here all night if they had to. What we understand is that a little bit earlier on, we had the police trying to disperse them to make sure that they clean up the entrances around Parliament, so that some of the MPs that were here, some of the parliamentary staff that was still within the precinct could go home and obviously be with the families for the night. Peter?
So Minister Nzimande tried to speak to the students earlier on, but they basically didn't give him a chance. They booed him. And you're saying now that they're waiting for some kind of assurance. Has there been any response from government since that failed attempt at the balcony?
Peter, other than the Minister of Higher Education, Nzimande, coming to try to, speak to the students a little bit earlier on, we haven't seen any other attempt forthcoming to basically come and appease the students who are obviously quite upset about what is taking place. We haven't necessarily seen anything, but what has happened since is that Parliament, the presiding officers, held a press briefing a little bit earlier on this evening, and they basically asked the students for just a little bit of time for Parliament to try and get involved, to try and do its little bit to try and get the universities on board, try and speak to the university management, to try and get them to, get to some form of agreement to say, well, next year, if they do increase fees, it will be by the absolute bare minimum. But obviously the students, I don't think they're not going to accept anything other than the 0% that they are calling for. Peter?
Do we have any idea at this stage if numbers are coming through in terms of the number of students that were arrested and maybe even those that were injured in today's protests?
Peter, well, we heard earlier on from the presiding officers that there were about 6 students that were arrested during the scuffles inside the precinct earlier this afternoon. We're still unsure about the number of students that were injured in the scuffle. We don't know as yet also as to what exactly these students will be charged with. I mean, we will probably have a little bit more information about the charges of these 6 students tomorrow. Peter?
All right. And very quickly, there's been some questions raised about the amount and the kind of force that police used. Has it become clearer what was used by the police to dispel the protest?
Peter, I couldn't hear the final part of your question, but I think it has to do with how police responded to the students coming in. I think it would be fair to say that to a large extent we did see excessive force coming from the police directed towards the student. I mean, I was outside there earlier on, and I mean, I managed to capture some footage where a police officer had his baton out. There was, at some point, I saw police officers punching students, and for me, I did feel at the time that is a little bit excessive, because in the end, those students, they had come in here, they were unarmed, and I don't think that any of them had directed some sort of violence towards the police. Sure, maybe there was some argy-bargy, but I don't think that it warranted the kind of force that the police had used to try and quell, the students who were inside the precinct this afternoon. Peter?
All right, Lukhanyo, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for giving us that update. That was Lukhanyo Calata, who's been watching that story for us from Parliament.